About 2 months ago,
Please state your name.
my name is Dorothy Wong, Dorothy Fue Wong. About 2 months ago, the commission made a decision to delay this nomination or application. And the commission also made the decision for me to work with GPA Consulting to incorporate the Japanese American experience and the artist experience associated with this building. Well, it didn't happen because the first 30 days, GPA Consulting was preparing their review application. We only had one meeting with them, a few emails, and then they submitted the review application on November the 6th without our knowledge or review, which is fundamentally against historic preservation practices. And so when I found out about it on November 6th, on that same day, then my colleagues and I did the research that GPA Consulting should have done. It seems like GPA was very reluctant to interact with the community. There was no field work done, even though opportunities were provided for them to speak to noted, scholars in the field. And also their methodology, I have documented very thoroughly for the commission, is not the best. And I feel that that this application, and I'm speaking for the Japanese American community and the artists with the art district, that this application should be rejected. Again, it's incomplete and inaccurate because it fails to document the rich cultural history of this site.
We now have a short video to show. That's per the suggestions of commission members to show today.
Hamada, a silkscreen artist and cultural activist, and a tenant of the 800 Traction. I would like to make a statement in behalf of the tenants of the 800 Traction. Those tenants include Nancy Omura, Jamie Itagaki, Bruce Yonemoto, Stanley and Aiko Walden, Mark Oberhofer, and Hiromichi Hamada. We understand this meeting is not to discuss issues of providing housing for present tenants. It is to discuss if the building has cultural significance to receive recognition as a historic cultural monument. We are appalled that the revised application does not include the rich history, cultural history of Japanese Americans. That history would only support the owner's request. One cannot speak accurately of the history of the 800 Traction without speaking of the history of the role of Japanese Americans artists in shaping and influencing Los Angeles community culture. We are one and the same thing. In the 70s and 80s, Little Tokyo was in turmoil with redevelopment. Cultural institutions and housing were in dire straits. We want to point out it was a community, including stakeholders, owners, tenants, and the CRA, that decided that it would be in the best interest to provide a community center and housing for the community that were going to be displaced. We are not asking that the 800 Traction building be a community center or Japanese American community. We have that. Together we can make things happen. We do need a place for our creative to work and live and continue in the spirit of the previous owners. The history would be recognized, the history should be recognized and not forgotten. To repeat, we ask the Commission to deny approval of the application. Thank you.
My name is Taiji Miyagawa. I'm a member speaking on behalf of the support committee of the residents of the 800 Traction. Japanese Americans are not new to the suppression of our art, culture, and history. In 1942, we were illegally removed from this city and others by gunpoint and incarcerated into military concentration camps in the middle of the desert. The city of Los Angeles has not been an innocent bystander to the displacement of our community. In 1952, about an entire block of Little Tokyo was taken away by the LAPD to build the Parker Center. During the 70s and 80s, as Miles alluded to, the city colluded with Japanese and local corporations to eliminate over 80% of low-income housing here. Today, ironically on December 7, 2017, we wonder, will this be another day of infamy in reverse? Will we be victims of the whitewashing of history as well as the displacement of Will the city move forward to give millions in tax breaks to DLJ Real Estate Capital Partners for ending artistic production in one of the last remaining artists and residence lofts in the Arts District? We ask, whose words carry more weight here today? The testimony of people who have created Los Angeles history with their own bare hands, or those with no connection to this process, paid to create a fiction for DLJ, who is led by one of the most corrupt banks in the world, Credit Suisse. For the public record, we strongly urge you to reject this application. It is a misuse of public funds and ultimately racist to erase Japanese American history to benefit developers. Buildings do not create history, but the artists, tenants at 800 Traction Avenue do. These people have been essential in maintaining Little Tokyo as a viable cultural center for nearly 40 years. It is they who helped create the Arts District, not the developers or architects. People create the historical cultural significance of Los Angeles, not buildings. Alongside our growing number of supporters across Los Angeles, we will continue to fight against the whitewashing of our cultures. Members of this commission may choose to stand on the wrong side of history today, but if you do, you will not be able to hide the truth. And it is to this truth that you will ultimately be held accountable to. Thank you.
President Barrett, may I continue?
How much time do you need, Dorothy?
Just 2 minutes.
2 minutes? Okay.
I just want to say that after we read GPA Consulting's review application, my colleagues and I went out in the community and we started doing the research about the Japanese-American connection to this site and also the artists and the art district connection to this site. And I must say that we found phenomenal experts out in the community who not only documented the history in these two groups, but also have lived for several decades. And they made the history. And so I like to introduce these people who have helped us to get the research to demonstrate that this site definitely has a very rich cultural history that includes not only the Japanese-American artists, but also the Hispanic and the Chinese. So I like to list these speakers who are going to talk on the subject. Stephen C. Mayer, who is a film director and a stakeholder in the art district for 40 decades. Jonathan Gerald of the Los Angeles Downtown Art District space. Tom Nagano, who's a journalist, artist, and have lived in the art district in Little Tokyo for 3 decades. Peter Garcia, who's an artist, who's going to speak about Richard Durado. Andrea Aguilar, who has studied the ethnic artists at 800 Tractions. And finally, Mark Oberhofer, who's going to talk about the Artist in Residence program because of his experience of living in the art district. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. The gentleman who has taken the seats, I'm going to give you 1 minute only. So please make your statements concise. I don't know who wants to begin. Do I have speaker cards for all these people?
My name is Stephen Seamer.
Pardon me?
Stephen Seamer.
Did you fill out speaker cards?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I have them already.
Take your time.
Okay, I have them. I did.